Are you looking for an opening or defense that's very easy to play and also has a ton of traps available so you can quickly beat your opponent? Well, let me tell you that you're in the right video and there's no need to look any further. I present to you the King's Indian Defense. Notice that the great thing about the King's Indian Defense is that we can play it against all of White's responses. No matter what they do to us, we'll play the King's Indian Defense. It's very simple. We can play it even with our eyes closed, and it also hides some spectacular traps that I'm going to show you in this video. So let's do one thing. I'll explain them to you completely for free, and you give me a nice like, which costs you nothing and helps me a ton. We'll start with knight f6. Pay attention, knight f6 will be the order we play, okay? Well, if they first play e4, then we could change the order a bit and first play g6, okay? But anyway, normally if they play d4, knight f6, they play c4, for example, right? I'm just giving an example, right? This is the best line for white. All the others will be a bit inferior, meaning better for us. And we're going to play g6. Why? Very simple. What is our idea? Well, to develop the bishop there and castle, that's all there is to it, okay? And from there, set the traps. Pay attention. Possible moves here for the white pieces. Well, white's plan is to expand in the center, because as you all know, in chess, we must fight for the center. If we don't contest that center, the opponent will want to contest it with their pieces and pawns. What happens is that now they can't play e4 because it's attacked by our knight. So white's popular response is knight c3, so they can play e4 later. I'm explaining everything so you have it super clear. And just by watching this video, you can already go out and play this defense, okay? Very well, we'll play bishop g7. Look how easy. We're gonna play this setup here. I once uploaded a video called Defense for the Lazy that explained it a bit. But it's true that I didn't dive deep into all these traps, which are spectacular, right? Now the opponent can play e4 since that's why they prepared with the knight on c3. Very well, so we have to remember one thing. We want a castle, okay? But, and you have to burn this into your brain, whenever they play e4, okay? You're always going to play d6. Later you'll castle, but why must we play e6? d6, sorry, to prevent this e5 advance to keep it under control, okay? Very simple. You don't have to think much. Whenever they play e4, you play d6, and that's it. You don't have to complicate your life at all. From here, the opponent has many options. What is the main one? Well, the normal one could be knight f3. He develops his other knight and places it pointing toward the setter and also pointing toward this e5 break square. All right, if you've been paying attention, all we have to do now is castle. And notice that we've already completed the King's Indian setup. We don't have to do anything else. Wasn't that super easy? Well then, from here on out, we'll see all the traps we have available next. For example, a very common error, okay, for the white pieces, or more than an error, a slight inaccuracy, is playing bishop to d3. And I see this in so many games, because some people haven't studied the theory well. It's totally normal. Not everyone can know the theory by heart, and that's why these videos help us so much. Since we play against humans and not perfect computers, we learn to punish all human errors. How should we continue? If they play bishop to d3, well, so you understand, bishop to d3 is a slight inaccuracy since it disconnects the queen from the d4 spot. The d4 spot is a very safe spot because it's defended by the knight and the queen. With bishop to d3, it's no longer defended. And notice that we are indirectly aiming at this spot with our bishop. You see it, right? This bishop, once this knight moves, will simply be attacking the d4 spot. All right, so we're gonna continue. With the next move, remember, when they play bishop to d3, we're going to bring our bishop out to pin this knight right here. Why? Because if you look, now this pawn is no longer defended by the queen because the bishop is in the way, and it's no longer defended by the knight because it's pinned. So it's a defenseless pawn. Remember that what we're going to do is fight against this pawn right here. All right, now they can do 1,000 things, right? But for example, this bishop might bother them, and they might play the following, h3. This move is dangerous, and you must understand why. Normally, when they play h3, we say, well, I'll just move back and maintain the pen. In this case, when we have a fianchetto, that would never work, because they would simply advance the pawn. And this bishop can't keep retreating, and we would lose the bishop. So you must keep one thing in mind. If they play h3 threatening this bishop, it's very simple. All you have to do is trade it for the knight. Although I already know what you're going to say. Chess teacher, you're giving up the bishop pair. In this situation, it's a situation where you can perfectly well give it up. Why? Because look, after queen takes bishop, which they have to recapture, otherwise they'd be down a piece and now there's no piece left. Defending this spot right here. The queen no longer defends, neither here nor there, and the knight that was defending has been eliminated. So now we can continue with our pressure, and this is where we start with the hammer. Boom! Knight to c6 directly attacks the d4 spot, and there are several typical responses here. We're going to try to cover them all. Very simple. You're probably wondering about the most logical one. What happens if they advance this pawn? Which I'm sure they'll do in most cases. So we have two very good options. One would be this, knight e5 attacking the queen and the bishop, a very good option. And another one I like even more is placing the knight on d4, sorry. Why do I like this one more? Well, because besides attacking the queen, it's practically defended by the knight when it retreats, and we can also reinforce it with the pawns, both the e and the c pawn, right? And if they capture en passant, it's fine because we could defend with the other one. Understand? Very well. So it's very, very simple. This move would leave us with a very good position. However, notice that it's not the only possible move when we play knight c6, okay? d5 is not the only option. If they play d5, easy. You can choose between here or even here, which I like more. But what happens, chess teachers, if when attacking this pawn, they simply defend it while developing a piece? Don't tell me this isn't normal. You attack my pawn, I develop a piece and defend it on top of that. Who usually plays bishop e3? Well, people who realize that by advancing to d5, they're leaving very weak squares that we can exploit. Very well, bishop e3, they defend, so how should we continue? Well, now we're going to apply logic. Notice that this defense is very simple because you don't have to memorize much, just apply logic. What have we been saying all along? We're working against the d4 point. Which piece attacks? The knight. What other piece can attack? The bishop. So for the bishop to attack, we must move this knight out of the way. So we just move it. We don't have to make life complicated. And now we're attacking here and here. Simply, if they advance, we're in the same spot as before, right? Thank you very much. But what happens? Well, here they have another resource to defend again. Knight e2 defends the pawn. Very well, chess teacher. And here, how should I play? Well, pay attention, because this is already a serious mistake, and we simply have a move that wins material. It's a very, very good move. Let's see if you spot it. The move is to jump with this knight right here. Knight e5. An excellent move. At first glance, we're giving it away. Let's see. Look, we attack the queen and we attack the bishop. If the queen moves, we capture the bishop, win a piece, and on top of that check, they lose castling. So notice that the only solution against this move is to take the knight. You see it, right? And once they take the knight, well, very simple. We just capture. And now we attack the queen again, and we attack the bishop again. So they're back in the same situation. Look, they have to move the queen, and then we would capture this bishop with check. They would have to move the king. We're also attacking here with two pieces. When they move the king, whether it's here or here, we don't care. What we'll do is capture here. And not only that, but now we're preparing a discovered attack on the rook. If it moves away, we can take this pawn. In short, notice that we're 3 pawns up. The opponent's king can't castle, we attack this bishop, our position is 1,000 times better. Remember this very important thing. Every time they play e4 against you, you just play d6. Where are you going, crazy? Notice it's a very simple plan, but very well done, chess teacher. Now, whatever white plays, very well, I castle, I carry out the plan you told me, and we've seen that bishop to d3 was a slight inaccuracy because it stopped defending the d4 point. Very well, chess teacher. When things go as you explained, great. But if they play well and play bishop to e2, what should I do? Because of course, now my whole plan has been based on them making this move, which is a slight inaccuracy. Very well, bishop to e2. Notice that I always tell you the same thing. We must remember the plan and not the exact moves. Very well. So here, if we know our plan, we know that we're going to keep doing the same thing. We come to attack this knight. Our idea was never at any point to pin the queen, but to come and bother this knight to possibly capture it. If they play h3, what are we going to do? Capture it, all right? The plan is going to be very similar. Let's see it. For example, here they can castle, right? Let's see, so they don't play h3. If they play h3, you just capture, they can castle to see another option, perhaps also very, very logical. And so now, well, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to make a super surprising plan. We would have other types of better plans available. Well, maybe so, but the one that works for me is the following. Watch out, we're going to withdraw this knight before bringing out the other one. It's true that I always tell you that you don't have to memorize moves, but it's true that you have to understand sometimes that if they play, for example, bishop to e2, in this case, the plan would be to move back before bringing out this knight, all right? So if they've done this scheme with bishop to e2 instead of bishop to d3, first knight to d7, the knight from f to d7, why? Well, if you've understood the plan, it's very simple, right? To come and attack this point right here. Very, very easy. If they attack this bishop, what are you going to do? Well, the same whether they attack it or if they don't attack it. Capture this knight. If they don't attack it, you can capture it whenever you want. If they attack it, well, obviously, as soon as they attack you, there's no other way, all right? Because we don't have time to withdraw it. If we withdraw it, we lose the bishop. Very well, they recapture. And now, how can we proceed, chess teacher? Because this pawn is no longer hanging. It's attacked only by the bishop and is defended by the queen. So here we have absolutely no attack at all. Well, very well, here our plan is, pay attention everyone, to play knight to c6. Does it sound familiar? I'm sure it does, because this scheme is the same as before. Simply, the difference is that before we were like this. It changed a lot because this pawn was doubly attacked. And now we're like this, which is well defended. However, watch out, two pieces attack it, only one defends it, and on top of that, the queen defends it. Sorry, this queen is here, but it's the same thing. And now, what should the black pieces do? Oh, the white pieces, sorry. Well, now it does seem quite obvious. They must try to defend it as soon as possible. For example, bishop to e3, they defend it, and if we attack it again with e5, which is our plan, well, now they have no choice but to play d5. If they play d5 directly here when we attack it, well, perfect, we already have what we wanted. If they play bishop e3 first, then what you have to do is play e5 first to put more pressure on them. Notice one thing, if they capture, thank you. You come in with this knight here that wasn't playing, you attack this bishop, you attack this pawn, and you have a much better position. Besides, this bishop would have discovered attacks. But if they make the logical move, which is playing d5, we go into our plan. Very simple. Now, how should we continue? We don't have this jump available, but we do have this jump available, which is this spectacular jump. We attack the bishop, and on top of that, this knight is excellently placed. It's a spectacular knight. That's why. Look, it's controlling all the squares. The queen can't come here or here or here. They can't do anything. So the most normal thing is for them to eliminate this knight. Very good move. Yes, sir. But notice that when we capture on top of that, we're left with two doubled pawns, and this pawn that they'll surely be able to recover easily, because it's not easy to defend. Very well, I'm sure you're all seeing it. If you're the white pieces and you want to recover this pawn, which on top of that, if you win it, it's a free pawn, how would you do it? Well, I'm sure you'd all make the same move, knight e2, I attack it with the knight and I attack it with the queen, okay? It seems like a very good move, because now if we try to reinforce it, they would simply capture en passant, and on the next move, they would capture us here. So c5 doesn't work. But here we have the spectacular hidden move, which is the following, d3. A very, very good move. We attack the knight and pass the pawn. A pawn that we're giving away. Right? We're giving away this pawn. What's happening, chess teacher? Very well. What we're doing now is freeing the bishop to capture this pawn on b2, which notice attacks the rook. And if you've played several games of chess, you'll tell me, chess teacher, it seems like he's recovered this pawn, but it's very easy to recover. I attack your bishop, and when you move away, what am I going to do? Well, simply capture this pawn here, right? But this is a serious mistake, because notice that we have this knight jump, we attack the queen, and we attack the rook. Notice that we've given away the pawn on this square precisely to place the queen. And on top of that, when they recover this pawn, we've made the plan to place this double attack on the queen and rook. Even if they fall into this plan of this little trap, Absolutely nothing happens, as our position is going to be fantastic to play, and we'll be able to press a lot. Don't worry. This is super important. Notice that our plan was when they played knight f3, we came to pin this knight here. Not to pin it, but to attack it. But, of course, chess teacher. Again, at the beginning, if they played bishop d3, everything was wonderful, right? Because we had our plan. Then we saw that if they played bishop e2, we could also carry out our plan. Well, what happens if they play h3? H3, before playing this knight, forces us to not be able to come here. You see it, right? Why? Because if we come here now and they attack us, we simply exchange and everything is wonderful for us. But if they play h3 directly, how do I have to do it? Well, don't worry, because I also bring you the solution and you're gonna love it. And it's essential that you know it, because if they play h3 and you don't, your whole plan will go down the drain. And it's a very simple plan that is well worth knowing, right? Very simple. How are we going to continue? We castle, we continue with our plan, we castle, okay? Notice that we always use the same structure, this one here, and d6, always the same. And now they can play in several ways. Now they're no longer afraid to play knight f3 because the bishop can no longer come here. How should I continue, chess teacher? Well, we're simply going to play knight to c6, attacking this point. Notice that it doesn't have to be these exact moves. If, for example, they first play bishop e3, defending here or developing this bishop, well, it's the same, right? We play knight c6, we attack this point, and they'll probably have to defend it with knight f3, right? Since with knight e2, he would block in his own bishop. This is normal. Very well, but now our plan of coming here no longer works. How should I continue? Well, our plan is simply to play e5 directly, okay? e5, as you can see, is the move that is also repeated in all variations. What's the idea? Well, if they capture, it's great for us. Why? Because it opens the diagonal for the bishop. Notice it's on the longest diagonal on the board, and it also opens the file for the rook, pointing at the king. So it would be a mistake on their part to capture this pawn. However, now they can play d5 under better conditions. Why? Because look, let's calculate. If we come here, they kick us out, and we have to stay here. We don't like that. Very long. What other option do we have? If we come here, well, now our knight is very far back and can't go here or here. But what happens? If we jump here, they simply capture with 2 pieces and win a pawn. But we're gonna place it here, because that's our plan. Notice one thing. How many pieces are attacking this light? 1, 2, 3. How many are defending it? 1. Only the pawn on e5. So it seems like we're just giving away material here in a very, very simple way. But this is our plan. Nothing happens at all. Look, they capture here, we capture. Of course, we're not going to lose the piece. And when they capture us again, logically with the bishop, look, because if they capture with the queen, they're exposing themselves to discovered attacks. They must capture with the bishop. Well, then we have a secret move, and you must master this one, okay? Very, very simple. Watch closely. Knight takes e4. A spectacular move. By taking this pawn, we're winning back the pawn we were down, right? So we're even on material, but chess teacher, you're going crazy, as usual, and I'm getting tired of you going crazy in all your videos. But don't worry, because look, we give up this knight, you see, we're giving up this knight, but we're setting up a very strong discovered attack here, which, even though it's defended by the queen, watch this. When they capture us, we have a move that will surely, if you like chess, give you goosebumps. Just like it did to me when I studied it. I'm sure you're all thinking of moves like rook e8, attacking this knight, and pinning it. Well, no, the move is queen h4. Look at this move. What it does is launch a double attack on the knight and bishop in a straight line, or rather, on a horizontal line. Super strong. Now we're actually threatening rook to e8, pinning this knight from here and here. Alright, are you going crazy, chess teacher? Yes, but there are still ways to save this, right? For example, what happens if they capture this bishop first? Well, we're about to see. It's very, very simple. If they capture this bishop and also attack our rook, we don't care. Because first, we should capture this knight with a check, so they're forced to defend against the check, and then we'll capture this bishop, winning a piece. Notice we've won back the knight, and we'll win back this bishop here. Now, if they block with the queen, we just trade, and we win back the bishop. If they block with the bishop, we don't take the bishop right away. Instead, I recommend queen takes pawn, attacking the rook. If they take our rook, it's a mistake for white because look, they take the rook, we take with a check, and then we take the bishop. So they have to move the rook, and now with total composure, we capture this bishop. And look at the positional difference and the extra pawn we have here. Plus, they can't defend this pawn with anything. We're attacking it with both the queen and the bishop. This position is a total bargain for us. Oh, and super important, if when we take this pawn, they don't take the knight, but take this bishop first, you need to keep this in mind. How should we play? Should we take the bishop first or should we take the knight first? Well, neither one. We move the rook and place it on e8, aiming at the king. So we're threatening knight takes knight, a discovered check. If, for example, they say, I want to move the bishop back, simply knight takes knight wins the game. Check. And when they block with either the bishop or the queen, it doesn't matter. We take the queen with the knight. So what happens is, when we play rook e8, they can't move the bishop. They have to block this discovered attack. Sorry. For example, with the bishop, it doesn't matter because we're going to win back this bishop here. And notice we've won back the pawn we gave away, but we're much better off. We've destroyed their center and our pieces are 1,000 times more active. Look, our king is safe, our rook points at the king, this knight is much better. If they take, we take with the rook, this bishop can come in, the queen too, tripling up. In short, in this position, they didn't fall for the little trap, but we're much better off. This little trap coming up now will be very useful for everyone, but especially for those of you at a slightly higher level. By a slightly higher level, I mean, for example, 1600, 1700, 1800, or much more, okay? Why? Because it occurs in the Samish variation of the King's Indian. Alright, they might make this move because they're very good and know this variation, or because they're afraid of you coming in with the bishop here. In any case, the variation works the same way. We castle, and notice that this is to play bishop e3 and maintain this strong central structure. Okay? This is called the samish variation. But don't worry, because I have a great plan to win in this variation. It's a very dangerous variation, okay? But you must know how to fight it. I can't even speak. Forgive me, too many hours recording for you guys. What we're gonna do here is play the move e5, a move that we're playing practically all the time. If they capture us, as always, thanks, right? They capture, we capture, even if they trade queens, we have a rook on an open file, thanks, but usually they advance, okay? This is the traditional move of the Samish variation. It opens the bishop, okay? And notice that this bishop can come here or even here. What's white's plan? To come trade this bishop with queen d2 and come here like it's a Sicilian dragon. We'll see it now. Dangerous plan, but we must know how to fight it. Here, typical move, a5. Why? Because what we want is to bring the knight to a6 and then bring it to c5, a square where it's very, very strong. However, here they could kick it out with b4 and this knight would have to leave. That's why a5 is played first, to prevent this b4, okay? White's plan. You know it well. I just told you, queen d2 to come trade this very strong bishop. You know this bishop is way too powerful in the King's Indian defense because it's the one protecting the king. If this bishop disappears, the dark squares of the castle position are way too weak and it would be too easy to get in. Imagine this bishop isn't here, they enter here, they open up with the rook, with the queen. Okay, so we must keep this bishop. All right, they play queen d2, we do knight a6, which is what we want, and they come to trade this bishop, the logical plan for this defense here. How should we play? Well, pay attention here, because I have a trap for you. Notice this position seems hard to reach, but it's a very typical position in the King's Indian defense. If you play against someone who knows a bit, well, look, we have the brutal move, knight. Where are you going, crazy? Takes e4, sacrificing the knight again, the sacrificing knight. This square is fully defended by pawn, by knight, and we don't care what they take with because we have a secret move here now. Now, it seems like we're doing nothing. However, what we do is we've captured with the knight to clear the way for the queen, queen h4 check, and our idea is that whatever they do, we're going to recapture this bishop here. If they block with knight, with pawn, we don't care because we take here. Even if they trade queens, well, even better, because we'll be left in an endgame with an extra pawn. What's the result? We're left with a strong center, we're left with a strong defense, we haven't lost this bishop, plus we have an extra pawn, and that's not all. The opponent's good bishop was also the dark squared one, so we're left with a position 1,000 times better. Chess teacher, and it cannot be. That you finish this video on the king's Indian defense without mentioning the fearsome four pawns attack, which I'm 100% sure you all know. And if not, well, look, it's called the four pawns attack. Pay attention, I'm going to reveal the secret, because they've advanced four pawns. Alright, so here what we're simply going to do is castle. Plain and simple, they'll play knight f3, this is the main line, and we'll play knight a6 without wasting time on a 5. In this variation, okay? They're very expanded. We don't have time to play a 5 because it's fine. If they play here, we just capture. For now, there's no problem. But since we know they'll advance, then we already have the knight eyeing this point here, and watch out because they wouldn't have time to come here because we're attacking this point with two pieces. That's the plan, okay? Quickly, so I don't bore you and so you understand it perfectly. All right, here, no matter what they do, we don't care because we want to directly break at e5. A very, very strange move. We always want to make it. If you've been paying attention, you know we always play this e5, but now it seems like we're giving it away. Why? Because 1, 2, and 3 pieces are attacking us and only one is defending it. So, chess teacher, what are you planning here? What's going on? Well, it's very simple. When they capture us, obviously we're going to recapture, and now they have two options. Capture with the pawn or capture with the knight. Capturing with the pawn is a mistake. Why? Because we simply trade queens. We don't care what they take with, for example, with the bishop to keep defending this point, and now we come here, and we're going to recover this pawn easily, see? So there's no problem, and on top of that, they're left with very weak pawns, a position 1,000 times better for us. We open the diagonal for the bishop, so it's a complete mistake to capture with this pawn here. They've captured this pawn here, right? They've captured this pawn here with the knight, which is the good one, and we're going to play c5. What I was telling you is, if they capture here, it's not that we capture this knight. I was going crazy because I left the knight. It's that first. We can trade queens or not, we don't care, but we can recover it with the knight. We'd be double attacking here. By moving this knight, we would indeed be attacking through here, and this would be a very bad move, okay? For the white pieces, very well. So what happens if they advance, which is the other option? Well, if they advance, what we have to do, remember, is knight takes e4. Again, the same as before, we recover the pawn. If they capture here, we simply capture with the bishop. You see, right? Super simple. And then we're left super, super well. And on top of that, we're threatening this here, check, and taking the knight. So a normal move here is, since we're equal on material, to castle. And so here, they've lost the game, because there's again this threat of queen h4, threatening here, and threatening the knight. We're going to deliver checkmate on the next one, or close to checkmate. If they try to defend with the knight, we capture with the bishop. When they capture us, we capture with the queen in our position, besides having material advantage, is infinitely better. We threaten to enter through here, we threaten to put the rooks in the center, well, our position's a complete bargain. However, chess teacher, here they rarely capture, but most of the time they advance. And that's why this knight makes so much sense, because we place it here. Look, we attack this d4 point with two knights, super, super strong. And now what? How can they defend it? They have any way? Well, of course, the most logical one, queen c2. But this doesn't prevent anything, since we can directly sacrifice our knight here because there are tactics, as always. Knight takes knight, it looks like they've won. Okay. And now, instead of capturing, because they'd capture us, we have bishop f5 pinning this piece right here. We're gonna get it back, but they still have some resources, right? Bishop d3 to block the pin, and we simply come here and trade. When they trade, we don't come here, that's important. Instead, we play f5, and notice that here, we've already recovered the piece. They have to retreat, and now we play e4, winning their bishop or knight, and on top of that, when we capture, we'll deliver this check here, and we've also opened up this very strong diagonal for the bishop. What did you think of this video? Incredible, right? You should save it so you can review it as many times as you need. If you're here until the end of the video, it's because you like my content and you know the best community in the world is available in the description if you join. I hope you loved this video. I have a great time as always, and I'll see you in the next video, friends. Bye.